So hello and welcome to the Amsterdam Film Show. My name's Cathy Leung. Our film of the week is Whiplash. It's the story of a young drummer who's driven to breaking point by his teacher, but also his own desire for greatness. So what were my expectations of Whiplash? Well, it has a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's won the Audience and Jury Award at the Sundance Film Festival. However, I hadn't seen any of the director's work, Damien Chazelle. He's done a small range of disparate films from horror to thriller to indie. And then after seeing the film, what did I think? It's very slow moving. It's central characters. Let's start with the performances. J.K. Simmons as Fletcher. He plays his role in very shouty, very intense, quite over the top, I felt. He could have toned it down quite a lot. It does get quite annoying. I think he could have done better, maybe like Vincent Cassel in Black Swan, more psychological terror over his students rather than the kind of real shouting and sometimes even slapping students. And then you have Miles Teller playing Andrew as the young drummer. You may have seen him in kind of more brash roles in kind of college or high school characters. He's much more vulnerable here. And intense. He does a good job, but I don't think the director gives him any really decent scenes until about halfway through the film. There's only really two powerful scenes in this film, and you have to wait a long time for them. One of them is the last scene, a last very long scene, very intense, and that's where Miles Teller really shines. And I found the film quite repetitive. There's a ridiculous number of references to Charlie Parker's greatness and the fact that his teacher threw the cymbal across the room, and that's what made Charlie Parker great, because then he went to his room and practiced and became the great musician that he became. And that would not have happened if his teacher hadn't thrown the cymbal at him across the room. So, the point of the story is, the teacher has to be a bastard. But it's repeated so much, and it's becomes a cliche, and it's like, we heard this story about Charlie Parker, we get it. And then there's some red herrings like Andrew's love interest his father's failed writing career. They're kind of red herrings and distracting. You don't need them at all. They're irrelevant. So who would like this film? Jazz aficionados, of course. You've been waiting for a jazz drama for quite some time, I expect. You've had Almost Famous, Inside Llewyn Davies, Shine, The Soloist. But this is certainly a drama set very much in the jazz world. This is your film. I think you'll like it. If you're not into jazz, but you're still into the human elements of, obsession, perseverance under pressure, bullying, looking at all of those issues, then certainly you'll find the story interesting as well. But don't be fooled by the 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Lower your expectations before you go into the cinema, and then you won't be disappointed. So all in all, I liked it. It explores an area of music that I'm interested in, but it's a bit too slow for my liking. I don't believe in scoring movies unless it's like 10 out of 10 or 3 out of 10. I would just say it's an averagely good movie. Horns. Classed as thoughtful horror comedy, Daniel Radcliffe stars as Ig Perish, who grows horns shortly after the gruesome murder of his girlfriend. The horns seem to give him the power to not only attract confessions from people, but also to drive them to give in to their twisted desires, power which might help him exact revenge on his girlfriend's killer. Dumb and Dumber 2. 20 years later, the Farrelly brothers pay a return visit to their two characters, Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn, this time on a mission to find Harry's adopted daughter. Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels star, Turlock, expect crude and sexual humour. Mommy. Highly rated, some say melodramatic, Canadian drama. Widow Diane is struggling to raise her violent 15-year-old son alone when a new neighbour comes into their lives and offers to help. French and English spoken. Samba. French comedy drama from the writing-directing team of Olivier Nakache and Eric Toledano, who brought us Intouchable. Samba is an immigrant from Senegal who has lived in France 10 years and needs to obtain working papers. He meets Alice, and so begins a beautiful love story between an immigrant and a volunteer. Omar Sy and Charlotte Gainsbourg star. So we went to see Interstellar last night, which is Christopher Nolan's new epic sci-fi thriller featuring a massive lineup of stars. He's got Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Michael Caine, even a bit of an appearance from Matt Damon.
That's a spoiler, isn't it?
Is it?
No, well, it is a bit, but it's okay.
Matt Damon, isn't it?
Matt Damon.
It's about saving humankind. It's mankind's most important mission.
Yeah, well, it does have a bit of a Hollywood twist to it, but it's understandable, I suppose, if you want to speak to a larger audience. It was a good movie. I thought it was a good movie, and a lot of great special effects. But it was a long movie. It took about 3 hours, I think.
Just short of 3 hours.
So, I think all in all, it was an enjoyable movie. But I think one that needs to be seen a little bit as a tip, maybe, needs to be seen in a more of an immersive cinematic experience, such as an IMAX or something.
Interesting philosophical elements to this film, actually, as well. They talk about time and relativity and those kind of things, which I found quite interesting. Emotionally, it's quite sentimental, which is, I think, its biggest downfall. It's full of Hollywood one-liners and lots of sentiment.
Yeah.
But it's a big, massive, bold film, and I think best seen on the big screen for all the visual elements taken on a really interesting and captivating journey. But for the best impact, see it on the big screen.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the last thing maybe I would like to say is that the philosophical side and maybe even the technological side of this movie is pretty complex. It's pretty complex to maybe comprehend what they're talking about and therefore maybe also understand what's happening. So I would personally like to see the movie once again to really get a good grip and good understanding of the fifth, the fourth, the third dimension, whatever they are talking about, the quantum physics and the quantum mechanics.
So and the black holes.
And the black holes. So yeah, there's a lot of things like that involved. So you do need to really pay good attention during the movie.
Interstellar, mixed feelings.